Hey guys, let's see if I can wrap up this Philco 3710 project in this installment. So, I left off with, I got the magnetic tuning working. Now I've flipped the chassis back up and installed that power and tone switch with the long metal shaft. So, knobs line up now. And I installed a fuse and a thermistor. From what I've read online and my own personal experience, I think that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing with all these old radios now. Certainly adding a fuse is a good idea, and these thermistors, I think it's a good idea if you've got the room and you can keep it away from anything that might be affected by the heat. Radios typically draw somewhere between half an amp to an amp, and at an amp the resistance on this is around 3 or 4 ohms, and heat power is current square time resistance. So let's take an easy example. Draws an amp, and let's say this is 4 ohms. 1 squared is 1 times 4 ohms. That's going to give out 4 watts of heat. So I've got this down in an area where there's really nothing. The heat will go right up to the metal chassis above it, and in the area around here, I don't anticipate any issues with that. The reason I want to use it is to provide a bit of a soft cushioning on power-up, so you don't get a big surge current hitting that first, when the first capacitor is discharged. There'll be a surge current going through the rectifier tube. Occasionally you can get flash over, or it stresses out the tube a little. And also when it's running in steady state, it will drop a few volts to compensate for the higher line voltages we see these days. Also protect all the tube filaments a little bit. Although the power transformer has not unlimited current output, so it acts as a bit of a current limiter itself. Alright, so I did put that compensating network to the tap on the volume control. So I'll be curious to hear when I get the speaker hooked back up how it sounds with the various tone positions. I also need to tighten the shield back down and decide on which tubes I'm going to keep in this radio, and then go through the alignment and finally reinstall this mechanism. Just got me a little confused going over the service info for it. So here's the assembly. Got the dial lights back on it. What I'm confused about is, where do the 3 wires coming out of the front of here go? Now, one of them is easy. It's this switch. And I'm kind of taking a look at this thing, seeing how it works. And if you look at this mechanism down here, there's a couple paddles there with a spring. If either side of this paddle goes down, it locks, or it depresses that switch. So what that's actually doing, let's see if I can get this propped up here. What it's doing is it's disabling the magnetic tuning as you get close to the preset. So that switch is only closed as you approach from either direction with the preset. Reason is, if there's another station very close to your preset station, you don't want the AFC locking on it. You don't only want the AFC to be engaged when you're directly on your preset. Alright, so that's simple enough. But there's another muting switch contact, and that's supposed to go 1 wire to volume control and then ground. Well, I looked at the service info for this mechanism, and that's what that bit is in there. I only need 1 connection because I think this presses up against something inside here, and this whole frame is grounded, so that provides the other side of it. But what does that connect to? I don't know, other than this thing up here, which, well, yeah, I guess that must be it. It wasn't clear on the diagram what connected up there. But, okay, that has to be it. There's nothing else left for it to connect to. Alright, so I'm going to get that mess remounted on there. Alright, let's see the action on that power switch and tone control. Magnetic tuning. So that's the first tone position. Second. And third. Alright, so it definitely seems to be doing its thing. And clearly the power switch works, so now I'm going to reinstall that dial mechanism. I've been having some fun reassembling the dial mechanism thanks to some help online and comparing this to my 37690. I think I finally got a handle on things. So, see if I can explain what's going on here. So, starting from the back, a little hard to see, but there is a chrome-plated brass ring down there at a 45-degree angle. Well, that's a reflector ring. The deal is the light from the 4 bulbs around the perimeter hits those and deflects the light upwards to illuminate the station ID tags. And then there's the lone bulb up here to illuminate the station indicator. Now, what got me so confused is the top two bent out so that they point straight forward, which does nothing but illuminate the back of the inside of the cabinet. So I looked at some photos online, and I saw some, I think they're the later version, that don't even have these top 2 bulbs, only have the lower 2. No, I asked online and got the confirmation that, yeah, these are supposed to point inwards. So, I don't know. I mean, they're very neatly bent. I don't see any tool marks or anything, so it kind of looks factory, but I can't imagine why it would be like that. So I've already gone ahead and bent this one back, and I'll do the same to the other. Now, something else you may notice is that there's electrical tape on the backs of each of these. Well, after fiddling around with the bulbs, that seems to be because the bulb mechanism's a little flaky. So I think that electrical tape is there to put more pressure on it when the bulbs are pressed in. Now, I found an assortment of bulbs in here, some 44s and I think they're called 55s. Some larger, more bulbous bulbs. Well, I changed them out so that they were all the same. They're all 44s right now, so I found some like this, which it turns out apparently was what the original ones are. Kind of hard to get in there, though, with these crimped hoods there. Well, for now I'm going to leave the 44s in there, but eventually what I plan on doing is getting LED replacements because they're much longer life and they will provide a little bit better illumination. Alright, so moving forward, we've got the band switch assembly, which has 3 cutouts for each of the bands. You'll see that one, it's lit up. And then we've got a spacer ring, and then we've got the dial scale with all the markings for the various bands and station numbers. Then we've got this inner mechanism. Well, even though I took a bunch of notes and photographs when I took this apart, things weren't working quite right with that muting switch. So wire going up here. The other 2 down here is the switch for cutting out the magnetic tuning. So the bottom switch is working fine, but this was not quite working right. Well, it turns out because I didn't have it assembled properly. So there's a switch contact that rides around on the hub. There's a little insulating piece above it, piece of like a heavy cardstock. That's what we're seeing right here. You just kind of make out switch contacts in there. Well, the other side of the switch contact is a flexible piece of brass that just kind of freely was floating around inside here. What I didn't realize is when I put this center part back on with this handle, that other switch contact is supposed to slide up inside the handle. And just make it out. It's a thin piece of brass, just coming up down inside there. The deal is, when you push this in, it makes contact. See that down in here. So a little tongue going up and down. Well, it doesn't make contact until you push this all the way in. And then it mutes the station. So when you're rotating around like this, you don't hear it going by all the other stations. Alright, so I think it's all functioning now. And I'll try to demonstrate it here. So there is the station indicator. It's a little plastic tube back there that bends later and focuses it to a nice thin line. Let's get down to the broadcast band. So there's go through the band switch. And now I can just freely tune stations in.
In Iowa, where he barely made the 5% mark.
Now, things are off a little bit. This is AM 560, and it's coming out a little higher than AM 570. And that carries across the board. So AM 720 should be right here.
Your name. Now, it would be like the skyline and say Dave Schwann. Wow. The beam.
Now here it is with the magnetic tuning off.
You know, famous Chicago classic.
Notice the center part is not really illuminated now when I put it on. It is. Now, imagine this is in the cabinet, so you won't see any of this light. You'll just be seeing what comes in through there. So see how this light is pointing forward. It's doing nothing. It needs to be bent in.
On December 31st, just because, you know.
Right. As far as the preset mechanism goes, well, this radio is from the Chicago area, so these presets more or less are accurate. Like this is WLS. Put this in. Notice it's muted now, so you don't hear anything as I go around. I get down WLS and I let go, and we don't hear anything. Why? Because it's off a little bit. It's off in two ways, I just realized. One is some of these stations have been reassigned a little bit. And two, because this dial tuning isn't right. So we'll lock that back in. So it came up right on 900. It should actually be 890, so it should be one tick over. And because I have not aligned the local oscillator yet, we're actually, it's coming in at 910. Just a few there's like BBM. That's fairly close. That's 780, so it should be over a little bit. Jan, off a little bit. So to adjust that, that's what all these things are in here. So I'm going to play around with those a little bit and get them so when I do WGN, it comes right up on 720. And then I did do the basic alignment just on the IF, but I did not complete doing the trimmers under here for the antenna, bandpass, and local oscillator. I'm going through the front end alignment now. I'll go through each of the three bands, starting with the highest frequency shortwave band. Got the dial on 18 megahertz as indicated in the service info. Also should do all these with the magnetic tuning turned off. RF generator on 18 megahertz going into the antenna terminal through a 0.1 microfarad cap. And you adjust these trimmers. Bottom most are the highest frequency band, shortwave band, and then the medium shortwave band, and then the AM broadcast band. Local oscillator, RF, bandpass filter, and then antenna. So tweaking these is what gets that dial scale lined up right. Very critical adjustment. Just right. Get the volume cranked up all the way. I'm using the lowest level signal that I can still hear clearly. Good idea to go back and forth through these a few times. Make sure you get dial pointer right at 18. Local oscillator, then RF, and then antenna, and I like to go back through it. Make sure everything is dead on. about all there is to it. And then you do the same for the medium band and then the broadcast band. And I think it's a little different about the broadcast band is they have a both low and high trimmer, one for 1600, one for 580. That's why there are two trimmers up here for the broadcast. Here's a little peek at how the cabinet is coming along. A lot of light sanding, sprayed on some fresh lacquer, and some blender flow out. So basically I blended new clear gloss lacquer into the old, so retaining all the original color and look, and it's just filling in the cracks and voids and imperfections. And once it's secured up, I will rub it out, which only leaves this dial glass. Asked around online, and got opinions ranging from use plexiglass perhaps, or find maybe somebody who works with stained glass in the area, because it's not a straightforward piece of glass by any means. It is curved top and bottom and angled on the sides, and the corners are probably rounded off a bit. Or perhaps I could buy one. I did see somebody selling this entire escutcheon with dial glass on eBay. It's a little more than I'd like to spend, but that may be the way to go. Or I guess the final option, of course, is to just leave it as is. I finished going through the alignment, and it's definitely working better now, and the station's pretty much dead on now. So let's see. So there's WGN right on 720. WLS, or sorry, WDBM on 780, and so on. And magnetic tuning is working. So we can find some music to listen to. But unfortunately, I'm not going to finish it in this segment. Reason is that I'm waiting for some LED bulbs to show up, and I want to repaint this plate that goes over the automatic tuning mechanism. And it's so cold right now, I really can't paint, so that's going to have to just wait. And once those bulbs show up, I want to see about cleaning up this ugliness here with the electrical tape just crammed in around those bases there. And I still have a bit of work left to do on the cabinet. So while I'm waiting for stuff to show up and for it to get warmer so I can paint, I want to move on to some other projects. Meanwhile, here's a little demonstration of functionality. So magnetic tuning off. And the station comes in much clearer, and it's illuminated around here. So use your imagination that the cabinet is around here. Unfortunately, I'm missing one of the little station identifiers. One of these guys just cracked and didn't find it inside. They're little amber tabs that slip in around here. Some are station identifiers, and some are just blanks. Or they had stars on them originally. It's kind of worn off. You might notice one of them is red. There's a reason for that. That is to aid you when you're using this, because you can't just keep rotating this thing all the way around. There's a stop to it. So if you want to do this preset, you can't go to the right. You need to go to the left. So when you see this, you can kind of think it's an indicator of which way to turn the handle to get the station that you want. If it's on this side of the dot, you need to go this way. And if it's on the other side of the dot, you can go the other way. So once you get the hang of it, it kind of makes sense. You sort of always go in the direction of so the red dot will get closer to well, I guess I'm not quite used to it either. You go in the direction opposite of the red dot, I guess it would be. So red dot is here. If I want this station, I have to go around this way. If I want to listen to this station, I need to go the other way. A little confusing at first, but you get the hang of it eventually. So the other thing I want to do is read up a little on how to align these. So see, that's WGN, but it dialed in. It's a little off. That should be right on 720 right now, and it's not. So I need to tweak these a little bit. I think I can try doing it right now. Sure looks to me like you put a flat-bladed screwdriver in there and turn that a little bit. So let's see if we can make that happen. So right now, that is not quite right. I need to tweak it so that the dial goes a little bit more counterclockwise. It's actually easier to adjust than I realized, but you do need to plan ahead if you want to do a bunch of these because they need to go in order. So MAQ is 560, GN 720, BBM 780, LS 890. So in other words, they're going in increasing order on the dial. Now to lock it in, push it in, flat-bladed screwdriver, and when you turn that screw, it turns the whole mechanism. So get it right on where you want it to be, and let go, and it should pop out. Sometimes they get a little stuck in there.
I'm taking care of myself, and I'm at this health club. And it was, you know, if you were a kid watching that, you go, wow, a guy like that. It was a rocker. Now he's look at how good he looks. So it was kind of effective.
Did you mention Jerry Maguire? He was in that movie.
No. I didn't see that.
So
630 says that.
So it's right where you want it to be.
This is true. Notice how much Don Henley talks about himself.
So now if I go back to that and bring it down.
He's been known for that. I know.
So there's a slight tweaking, but you get the idea.
Well, it's very sad.
So let's do it for BBM. So it's right now on 790. It should be 780. So push this in on. Adjust it for 780.
I'm Matt Personette with the Mutual Fund Store in Chicagoland. Call me at 888-498-36.
So now,
Sorry.
GN. BBM. I'll go around and do that, tweak them all so that they're dead on. So hopefully the new owner of this set will be in the Midwest, so these identifiers are still useful to them. Otherwise, well, you can see these do pop out. You can kind of push up on this and then pull out the tab and replace them. I don't have anybody who makes exact reproductions of this nice ambery material, same like this dial material. But for sure somebody has made a printout sheet of all the stations, all the AM stations that are out there. And you could print it out onto maybe some amber paper, some heavy paper stock, and make your own station tabs to put in there.
Hunter on that song, and that is a weird full circle.
And there's the tone switch working. So that's going to be it for now. When it gets warmer up, I'm going to experiment, find just the right color of brown. I've already think I got some stuff on hand. It's pretty darn close, and I want to paint that up.
February 27, 2016.
And glue the tops on these cans.
At Doubletree Hotel in Alsip.
And work on these dial lamps, and then clean up the cabinet a little, and that should be it. But for now, if you enjoyed this little update, a demonstration of the automatic tuning mechanism. I think next up will be a little piece of test equipment and then the Mercury television.